achieving egolessness or egoless state of mind is one of the goals of the seekers of truth. See? So you want to remove the ego. So you want to become egoless. You want to become selfless. That is achieve the transparency of your mind. So egoless means your heart and mind is so transparent. In that state, you can freely communicate with your guardian spirits, or even a guiding spirit too. If you keep your ego as it is, it's a kind of a hindrance that blocks the free communication between you and your guardian spirits, so that you have no communication with your spiritual guides from heaven. So to remove ego is one of our goals. And also we talk about the inclination of the soul. When you go to the seventh path of the True Eightfold Path, which is the light will, this book encourages you to examine a few aspects. First one is that you just examine whether you have a tendency to deny yourself. See, you have a very negative sentiment against yourself. So you deny yourself, or you tend to punish yourself. Unconsciously, you may have some guilt feeling for what you have done or what you have taught to the other people. And you want to punish yourself. That is a negative sentiment. Okay? And will is a kind of a continuous thought, right? So it's a mind inclination. So you tend to blame yourself, or you tend to be pessimistic for your future. Okay? Or sometimes you have a strong self-pity to yourself. That self-pity is very poisonous to your mind. It's a kind of ego. So that if you maintain your self-pity, that will not give you a big success, because you always wishes some sort of sympathy from other people or empathy. It's a kind of love that takes. See, so if you maintain the tendency of self-pity, you cannot make a big success. You need to abandon this self-pity. You make a lot of regrets if you have this sort of self-pity tendency. You have to determine not to pity yourself, not to sympathize yourself. You just keep your heads high and stand up, have a deep breath, and provoke courage in your mind and heart, and make a strong conviction. I'm not defeated. I can do it. I'm not a coward. I am a brave man. Then I can do it. Then this sort of thing will make a great big breakthrough. That is a negative sentiment you have to overcome, self-pity. I am a big fan of Beatles. Yeah, last year I watched a documentary film, 8 Days a Week. In that video, some of the critics of the music history says that, the good thing about the Beatles is that those 4 boys have no sense of self-pity at all. Even if they are born in a very poor family, or it's a workers' class, but they do not put a pity on themselves. They are very proud, and they are very high in energy. And everything they did is to encourage other people, to give love to them. And that is a great feature of the Beatles. I think his remark is great, because he knows very clearly the harm of the self-pity. Okay, thirdly, you want to have a strong intention to achieve your goal. Master Okawa emphasized to have what we call burning desire, or the strong desire to achieve something. Okay, that is an important thing. And he used the analogy of Mercedes-Benz and battle tank. If you achieve something, you need to get on the tank, not the Mercedes-Benz. Because if you ride on a Mercedes-Benz, you always worry about keep the Mercedes-Benz as good as possible. So you don't want to damage the surface of the Mercedes because it's very expensive. But riding on a Mercedes is kind of an analogy of self-pride. You don't want to harm your pride. You don't want your pride harmed or hurt by making failure. Yeah? So you don't challenge. Because if you have a big obstacle in front of you, if you make a crash against this rock to remove it, of course your car, Mercedes, also have a damage. You don't want that. But if you ride on a tank, you can just shoot and break the rock, and then the passage will be secured, and you can go. You just overcome this sort of barrier. See, the tank is the desire, and Mercedes is wish. You have to employ desire instead of wish to achieve something, and that is a great analogy. Master says that men tend to have fear or the concern or anxiety if you try to challenge something. You always have a fear. This is a kind of a mind inclination too. But this is also the result that you have a shell of ego. This shell of ego is formed by, for example, your failure, some negative experience in the past. Once you make a failure or setbacks, you have a fear in your mind that you don't want to repeat this sort of failure again. So you just avoid and run away from the challenge. Once this sort of coward tendency formed in your mind, it creates a shell of ego. So far as you maintain this sort of shell of ego, you cannot achieve the good success. What is recommended is to repeatedly give a self-suggestion. You give a positive self-suggestion to yourself. For example, yes we can, yes I can. Yeah. See, you have to give affirmative suggestion many a time to your subconscious. Since you challenge something on the first thing in this life, you need lots of courage. Inevitably, you have some fear. So, in order to overcome this sort of fear, you have to persuade your subconscious by giving them a positive suggestion. Yeah? Yes, I can. Yeah, I can do it. Yeah? Then, very often, Master Okawa suggests to apply Kigan by writing down your wishes, your desires, on the form of Kigan. I want to overcome this cowardice and achieve this. Yeah? So give me a heavenly guidance, and I'm sure I can make it. Yeah? So by repeating this sort of positive suggestion to your subconscious, you can change gradually the negative tendency and remove this sort of shell of ego. So that you can change the mind inclination, which makes you avoid the challenge. I think this book, The True Eightfold Path, gives you lots of insight. And every time you read, you can find different discoveries. So please keep this book beside you all the time.